That was for you, David. You know who you are. Hi, I'm Gannon McIntyre, and I just got home from seeing the new film, Michael. This is the Michael Jackson biopic that tells the story of, well, the first half of his career. Whether or not we see the second half is totally up to the studio, which has been talked about enough in the press. You can Google that. But this is sort of already shaping up to be one of the most controversial movies of the year, in which critics are really tackling it if you go on like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff. But fans, at least the ones who've seen it so far, are kind of hailing it to be a masterpiece. And I think they're both right. I am a Michael Jackson fan. I listen to his music. I wouldn't call myself a diehard fan, but I'm a fan of him. And I was a fan when I was a kid, and I'm a fan now. I like his music. But I really thought this was the tale of two movies. I think there are elements of this movie that are some of the best I've ever seen in a movie like this, maybe the best. And then there are other elements that don't really live up to it. But the thing I thought that really worked about this movie that I thought was straight up brilliant was the depiction of Michael Jackson and his father. In particular, Jafar Jackson actually plays Michael Jackson. He's his nephew, I believe, from his sister. I'll fact check that afterwards. Should have done that beforehand. But yeah, and he really gives a well done, nuanced performance and looks shockingly like him, of course, because he's a relative. And another person who's really great in the movie that nobody's talking about is Giuliano Velito. I hope I'm saying that right. And he plays the young Michael Jackson in like the first half hour, the like Jackson 5 Michael Jackson. And there's a scene early on in the movie where he's eating ice cream with his mother, and she asks him, as a concerned parent would, why he's this huge celebrity, but he doesn't have any friends like a boy his age would. And the answer that he gave to his mother was one of the most heartbreaking things I think maybe not ever seen in a movie, but at least in recent memory. Just destroyed me to my core. And I thought that this kid and Jafar later on really just portrayed the tragedy of this individual who is the most famous person in the world, but is so isolated. And I thought the movie, in a way, some people are saying it's paper thin. I really don't think it is. I just don't think it's spelling it out to the audience the way some people want things spoon fed to them nowadays. Because it shows how he connects with animals more than he does with people, because he grew up as more of an object, like something that would be viewed in the zoo rather than a person. It shows how, because of that, he's very interested in childish things like toys, and he loves Peter Pan, he loves Disney, which nowadays isn't seen as that weird, but at the time was considered very strange. And there's a lack of showing, he doesn't have any involvement with women in the movie, and there's not a lot of talk about any sort of like race thing, even though he's a black artist. They touch upon it, but not that much. They truly show him as an isolated individual. And I just thought the quiet tragedy of that whole thing was brilliantly done. And of course, this tragedy was all brought on by the abusive relationship he had with his father, Joe Jackson, who's played brilliantly by Coleman Domingo. And he gives another very nuanced performance. I mean, he's turning out to be one of our finest actors, but I just thought there was something below the surface with this, where you could tell there was a human being behind him, but also some of the things he does to Michael and the rest of his family is so disgusting. And you see the path that leads Michael to becoming the individual he did. And so those two performances, as well as those two characters, I thought were brilliant. And some of the cinematography is great. Some of the dance and concert sequences are brilliant. Everything else in the movie I thought was insanely bland and did not live up to those two elements. I thought that every other character in the movie besides Michael and his father felt like they were from, I don't know, Disneyland or something. Like, nobody else in this movie is complicated whatsoever. They feel like they exist in movie land. There was something there. I said, the person who I saw with said this, there was something there with his mother and something there with the bodyguard he has, where they were maybe trying to come up with something, but it never really showed. And then, his brothers are just ridiculously supportive the whole time. Like, none of them were begrudging to him for becoming the one celebrity in this family. And all the businessmen in the movie they're not cynical whatsoever. Joe Jackson's really the only character in this movie that's portrayed as cynical or to have sort of a hateful heart. Everybody else is just living in this hunky-dory world where everybody's just making money and everybody just loves Michael. And I don't know, it just felt very stale to me and didn't really live up to anything. And the over vilification of Joe Jackson, which again, I thought the performance was brilliant, made the whole thing just feel stale. And it kind of made Michael almost look too perfect. And that might rub some people who feel certain ways about him because of the controversy the wrong way. I don't know personally how I feel about the controversy. This movie doesn't cover that at all. Again, it's the first half of his life. It's only the first half of this biopic. The studio said maybe they'll release the second part if this makes a lot of money, which I think it will. So we'll probably end up seeing it, and we'll address that when we get there. But yeah, I thought that there was some of this movie that was just great, but a lot of it really didn't live up to it. So I'm kind of conflicted here, but I think if you're a fan of Michael Jackson, I think you'll feel properly represented. So you should probably see it. But if you're somebody who thinks that he may have done the things that we don't know really if he did, and you just don't want to see him celebrated, this probably isn't going to do it for you. You're going to find plenty of things to hate on, which it seems like most critics are. So yeah, I liked it, didn't love it. Thank you all for watching. Comment down below. Let me know what you thought about it. And follow or subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching.